want to pivot a little bit, and let's take off our meteorological hats and our interviewee hats, and let's just be fans of the movie here for a second and talk about our enjoyment of it and what we thought about it. Just taking some of the science out and just being movie fans now at this point in time, because I really enjoyed it. I did feel like they did a good job of explaining a little more science in a way that was understood. And they didn't rely too much on like bigger tornado, bigger disaster like the first one did. They really brought a level of humanity to it, as opposed to just kind of like focusing on a romantic relationship. And I appreciated that pivot of the storytelling. I really liked Daisy Edgar Jones and Kate and the way that she portrayed that character. Glenn Powell is so good at being asshole nice guy. He is where he's at right now, and
now you love him.
And he is so charming, and he provides that level of like chaos and fun and entertainment out of this movie that you really want. And then you have Anthony Ramos, who is bringing a scientific element of it. And so they've got all of these different elements that tie in together with, what we have seen, being involved in tornado coverage and out and about. And so I think they did a good job of giving each person a different purpose that tied into kind of how you can chase storms or follow tornadoes and want that information, whether it's pure adrenaline or scientific, or it's just something that you can kind of feel and that you just have, and I really liked those three performances. What do you all feel? Stephen, what'd you think?
No, I agree. I agree with all of that. It's like, as we were talking about the chasing community at large and a little while ago on, would it be like this? Would it be like that? I think you hit it on the head exactly, nailing the different motivations of the people that are out there chasing. Because like you said, they all have slightly different motivations, right? And that is that's pretty accurate. I mean, there are a lot of different people chasing with a lot of different motivations there. And yeah, like you said, just from a pure enjoyment standpoint, again, I thought it was good. I liked acting performances. All the leads in the movie, I thought they did, not just the leads, but the leads themselves, I think were all terrific. It's another one of those, Glenn Powell's just over the past couple of years here. But I think we can all see why, right? Because he plays these roles really well. It of course doesn't help that he's Mr. Handsome, but he does a really good job. He's a great actor. He's not just getting away on his looks here. Like he's doing a good job.
Damn charming.
I know, he really is. And I thought Daisy was terrific. That early on, kind of giving her they kind of gave her a couple nods to Bill Paxton's character as being the one that can sense the storms, and I thought that was great. I really, for me, just from a pure nostalgic standpoint, I was like, oh, okay, I like this. This is nice, because you're thinking back to in remembering, man, losing Bill Paxton when we did, and remembering his character from Twister that we all love, and I liked that just from an enjoyment standpoint, being like, yes, I like this. It's truthfully, I really just from enjoying the movie, science related wise or not, I enjoyed it, and it's one I would go see again. Absolutely.
Yeah, Josh, really great cast. You guys are right. The leads are great. The supporting cast is great. The Tyler's Storm team, I really enjoyed all of them. They all bring something different and fun to the movie. And then also, I was slightly mind blown by this, so I have to say it again, because I told Garrett when I read it in the car. Scott, the guy who plays Javi's business partner, who's always with the car and with him and is like not trusting Daisy Edgar Jones, he is playing the new Superman in James Gunn's Superman. Right. So
that's the same face
David Corenswet is his name, and he's going to be the new Superman. So
that's him?
Yeah. So you got to.
He was a big dude, but I didn't know. He's got like a square jaw. He could do it.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
I didn't either. I found out afterward, because I was thinking, the first movie has so many iconic names in it. And I thought, well, maybe this one does too, just not yet.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I think this will be one that launches a lot of people. Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, and Anthony Ramos, I would say, are already people who are pretty famous.
Yeah. This will only help them.
This will only help them. And then, you look back at Twister, and I don't know how famous Philip Seymour Hoffman was, or, there's so many different people you go back and you watch that movie now from 1996, and you go, oh my God, I know all of these people. Like, all of these people, I can at least recognize and say I've seen them in something.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, you just blew my mind. I had no idea that was him.
I'm telling everybody I run into who's seen it, and they're like, really? I know. So that's really fun. Any other big moments of the movie we want to call out and nerd out on?
I could talk about any number of science things, and I won't keep everyone's time any longer than I already have. But Garrett brought this up earlier too. The whole there's a scene. Yeah, it's probably midway through the movie, right, where Tyler, Gwen Powell's character, is explaining to someone in the car to him, we don't exactly know how or when a tornado is going to form. And Garrett was like, is that really true? Because I feel like you guys know this stuff, right? And I was like, no, actually, truthfully, when that line came across the movie, I was very much like, this is a good line. He's right, and two, I could tell that this is something else that they got from the folks down in Norman and everyone else that they talked to, because it is true. Our field has come an incredibly long way in the years and decades since the first Twister and even before that, but even with all the data at our fingertips and everything in the world that we can have now, there are still quite a few unknowns about just exactly how a tornado will form and when and where. Like, why does this storm, if we have a scenario where there's two storms that are, let's say, close to identical, why did that one have a tornado and that one didn't? And that's kind of what he's saying in that line. And that's totally true. I mean, there's still a lot of unknowns in our world, and I thought that was another really good way of going, okay, yeah, they did their work here. Like, they're really trying to showcase the science, but also showcase the mystery that still surrounds it, and hopefully, obviously, the talk leading up to this has been, Twister inspired a whole generation of new meteorologists. I know that the folks in Norman, I don't know the exact number, but I know that they've talked about that, like, numbers for enrollment at OU and some of the other meteorology schools just took off after the first Twister. And sure. The years after, maybe not right after, but in the years after, when those people grew up and started going to college. So the thought has been, well, will this one do the same? Well, maybe it will, maybe it won't. Our world's different now. But I came away after that movie. Josh mentioned this early on. When the movie was announced way back when, I had the same thought of, like, I don't know, do we really need this? I'm not sure that this is... Yeah, I had the same concern of being like, this is just going to be another kind of overblown, over-the-top Hollywood movie, exaggerated movie. But, as we got closer in, I started going, okay, no, this might be good. And now after seeing the movie, I feel a lot better about it and feel a lot more like, I hope this has the same effect that Twister did, that it inspires a whole new generation of people to be fascinated in the weather and become meteorologists. And I think a lot of the science work that they put into that, I think, will help. I came away feeling good about it, very entertained, but also feeling a lot better about how the movie was done and how the legacy of it may be defined in years to come than I maybe would have thought, way back when it was first announced a couple years ago.
I want to bring up just a couple of things real quick before we talk about, this movie was shot in Oklahoma, which I think we need to give some time to. But there was one part we talked earlier about this movie inducing some anxiety, and for me, that happened in El Reno when they went into the movie theater. When that tornado that hit Moore. I can't remember if there were people in the theater, but I feel like there were, and people possibly died. But I could be wrong on that. But that was a moment that I was like, oh, God, don't go into a movie theater. Earlier in the movie, they talked about don't go under a bridge. It's the worst thing you can do, right? And then they go under the bridge. So I feel like we're doing this whole podcast here. We have an expert here. What are some safety tips should you find yourself in a tornado? What can people do to keep themselves safe?
Yeah, well, it's, I remember there was, when the first trailer came out and that shot of them going under the underpass was there was immediate from the weather community like, no, like, don't do that. That's, because we all know now that you're not supposed to do that. The thing is that used to be, going back a few decades, that used to be a tip that you would tell people. If they were caught out in their car, that's a place that you can shelter. And it only became after, unfortunately, people were killed doing that, and there was more research done into why, actually, no, it's not safe to be there at all. But to the movie's credit, they refute that almost right away. It happens, but they also explain right away, like, no, you're not supposed to do this, but we're doing it anyways. So if you're at home, obviously, if you have a storm shelter, that's your safe place. If you have a basement, if you don't have a storm shelter, if you have a basement below ground or lowest level, great, that's a great place. Again, we know a lot of people don't have that. So if you don't have your shelter in your basement, lowest level of your house, as close to the center of your house as you can be. You want to be away from windows is kind of the big thing here. That's why you're trying to get to the center of your house. You're trying to keep yourself not only from the windows, but as much flying debris as possible. If you're in your worst case scenario there, if you have time to do so, if you're going to that center of your house, whether it's a bathroom or a closet, whatever it is, having things that can protect yourself. So as silly as it might seem, a bicycle helmet, having blankets to wrap around yourself, again, things that will possibly protect you from flying debris. But if you don't live in a house, you live in an apartment, trying to find, from your apartment management, hey, do we have a shelter that we can use? Or if you, say, live in one of these places where you don't feel like you've got a proper safe place, like I live in an apartment, I live on the 4th floor, what am I supposed to do? If you don't feel like your spot is safe, then that's when you try to maybe have alternate places to go. There's not always public storm shelters available, but finding alternate shelters to go to, which just, requires a little bit more thinking ahead, right? And then obviously people always ask, well, if I'm in a car, what do I do? Like I get caught in a car, like what am I supposed to do? Kind of like what happens in the movie, right? And those are the kind of things that have changed over the years. And the truth be told answer is, if you're in a car and you kind of get caught in that situation, you are in a bit of a tough spot. I mean, you just are. Not to make it sound too grim or anything, but it's your chances of being impacted kind of go up there a little bit. Because no, we don't want you to go under an underpass. That's been proven to be not safe. The long and short of it is if you're caught in a car, if you happen to have a way to know where you are in relation to the tornado, and if you think that you're close to being able to get off the road, get off the highway to safe shelter, that's what you're going to want to do first. If you can find some sort of safe place off the road where you can get yourself as low to the ground as you can, and kind of the same tips where if you're inside your house, if you have ways to shield yourself from debris, if you're going to be out in the elements like that, that is the one where there are still, some uncertainties where if you get caught out in the car, you've just got to be prepared that you've got to be pretty quick on your feet with that sort of thing, knowing that you have to make some pretty quick decisions about how to get yourself safely out of that situation.
Do you endorse slamming on the gas and getting the hell out of Dodge as a strategy?
That's a great question, right? Well, here's the thing. Again, it comes down to knowing knowing growing up in Oklahoma, again, helps you with this, right? Knowing like, okay, I've got 30 minutes before that storm gets here. If it's a scenario like that and you, again, you're weighing all your options here. If you feel like I don't have safe shelter here and I don't really know anyone immediately that like has a shelter I can go to, or my community doesn't have a public storm shelter, and you feel like that you've got enough time to head the opposite way safely, of course that's an option. What we don't want people doing is in the heat of the moment, oh my gosh, it's 5 minutes away, I'm going to hop in my car and start driving. That's too late. We don't want you doing it when it's like, I've got 2 or 3 minutes here to get out of Dodge. If you've got 20, 30 minutes of lead time, that's a different story. Obviously, you have a chance to actually legitimately get yourself to safety, or just, get somewhere that's not in the storm's path anymore. Then of course, absolutely, that's an option. You just don't want people doing it at the last minute, where one, you don't have enough time to get out there safely, or two, everyone's trying to do it at the same time, and then now there's traffic problems on the road, and now we've put more people in cars as opposed to safe buildings or safe structures. That now has put more people in harm's way than not. So yeah, like anything, there are limitations to that. But yeah, if you have enough lead time to safely remove yourself to get yourself to safety, of course that is an option.
Trust the experts. Listen to what they say.
We do. Sorry, I didn't stand up to show my whole
Trust
shirt.
the weatherman. That's right. All right. So this movie we talked about was shot in Oklahoma, which I thought was really done really well. And one of the things that we learned after from our friend Mike Rogan, who is also a certified meteorologist who is involved in getting this together, he helped consult on the movie. We found out also, so that's super cool. They cut out his face in the movie, and so we're mad at them for that. But he let us know that even there's a part where they're in New York, and all of the New York parts were shot in Oklahoma, and they brought in New York taxi cabs. And so credit to the Oklahoma Film Office and all of the film incentives and work that they are doing to get movies shot here. It's really cool to be a part of. In fact, the director, Lee Isaac Chung, directed Minari, which was also shot here in Oklahoma. So both of their movies have been shot in Oklahoma. Minari, nominated for an Oscar. Twisters, you know what? Might be.
Special effects, I wouldn't count it out.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. What do you think about that, Josh?
I agree. I mean, we talk about filming movies in Oklahoma as much as we can on this show, and more so lately with the release of Killers of the Flower Moon and TV shows like Tulsa King and all that. So seeing Twisters filmed here is important for Oklahomans, I think, because, you know, there is a really strong community of arts and culture here who want to be a part of filmmaking. And we've really just needed people to take a chance on us. And it's amazing to see that happen more often with bigger budget films like this one. You know, not even all of the original Twister was filmed in Oklahoma. Famously, it was shot in Wakita and some parts around there. They have a museum there dedicated to movie that we've covered, and you can find that on our social media channels. But this one, you know, it was even mentioned that the New York City scenes were filmed in Oklahoma City, which is a kind of a rare thing for us. I've been thinking for a while. It feels like the movies that seek out Oklahoma are often movies that are set in a older time period in a more rural setting, but we definitely have the infrastructure to be a backdrop for large city scenes, and we see that here with Twisters. Reservation Dogs filmed some LA scenes that were actually downtown Tulsa, so we have that, and I love at finally seeing it because it matters. And a story like this, really, just to be authentic, you got to do it here. You got to. And there's some things that if you're an Oklahoman, you can nitpick. I heard some people talking afterward, like, I don't think Sapulpa looks like that. And you're right, but most people won't realize the exact geographic features of each area. But overall, they did it pretty good. I mean, that was El Reno looks like that. I feel like the Stillwater Rodeo is pretty on par for Stillwater. So it was fun. It was fun as an Oklahoman to see all that.
Yeah. And I also think they did a good job of showing like the beauty of the open plains and honestly the beauty that comes with these devastating storms.
Yeah.
I mean, being around them, they are terrifying, but there's this beauty about them too when you're out and the sky like goes from what it was to about to be what it is. Like that moment is like, man, if this weren't one of the scariest things in the world, this would be absolutely beautiful, you know? So I thought that they highlighted the beauty of Oklahoma landscape really well too.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. Again, when those shots, when the characters are kind of, like I said, kind of taking it all in and seeing the larger scope of, like you said, the plains and the storm structure and everything, I thought the exact same thing. I was like, they're doing a good job of highlighting, like you said, the delicate nature of the beauty before what it could become of you know, nature, weather around here. I thought, again, I couldn't agree more. I thought that was well done.
I just came to me one final sciencey question. I think, at least related to, is this real? How close are they able to fly drones to tornadoes? Because I'm sure that happens, but was that a real aspect?
No, that's becoming a thing.
Okay.
Absolutely. Now, granted, of course, it differs between like the quote normal drones that many people can fly versus what you were kind of seeing, which looked like a miniature plane, right? And that's also a real thing. And I don't know for sure if they got this from when they talked to the folks in Norman, but I have a feeling they might have, because there have been in recent last several years, last 10 years or maybe less, research drones that look pretty similar to what they had there in the movie, where they're using them. Are they flying them right into the dang thing? Probably not. But that is absolutely a thing, using drones for research. And then, of course, for the folks that are trying to get video of them, whether it's TV chasers or folks that are doing it for their job, whatever, drones that they're getting from a video standpoint, which, by the way, I mean, there have been some tornadoes in the last few years, and I think, again, Reed Timmer has done some of this too, that have gotten phenomenal video of tornadoes with drones. Video that's like, we've never seen stuff like this before. So there's drones that are used for that, but yes, there are actual research-based drones that look very similar to the one that they had there in the movie, that the researchers are using to collect better tornado data, more high-quality tornado data. So that's absolutely a thing.
I love it.
Can you shoot fireworks in a tornado?
Has that been attempted yet?
It wouldn't surprise me if it's been attempted. It's funny, we were joking about it because we had here in Tulsa, we had storms on the 4th of July,
yeah.
and it disrupted some of the disrupted some of the fireworks displays. They had to go off early or cancel them or whatever. But there were still people shooting off fireworks as it was starting to rain and storm. So I had that thought. I was like, well, I don't know. It's probably happened.
That's awesome.
Fair enough. All right. Well, are we ready to give our final rating on this movie?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So to remind you, Stephen, we go on a 0 to 5 basis. I don't know if you're prepared to make that choice yet, but we are, I think. Garrett, do you want to go first?
Yeah. I've been the
I know,
conversation
I have too, that's why I
obviously
made you go
helps,
first.
right? Like I feel like it's going to influence my rating here, but I think it's so good in a different way than the first one. And it does such a good job of just giving me something different. People can argue what a sequel is versus it's not. I don't feel like it's a reboot.
No.
It's not a sequel per se. It does a really good job of giving you some callbacks, but it does a good job of standing alone and just updating it along with the science that's happened over the last, almost 30 years or whatever it's been. So I think that this is really good. I think that you should definitely go see it. It's got my full endorsement. It's not a 5-star. It's a 5-star experience, I think, and conversation worthy. But I think that it's overall a 4-star movie.
Yeah, if you can go see it with a bunch of weather fanatics like we did, it's definitely a 5-star experience. Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. What makes it great to me is different from what makes the first one great, but also there's a lot of overlap that I enjoyed. I just had such a good time, and I'm also a little influenced by this conversation. I'm glad to hear how much of it was realistic and wasn't, and how much effort they did put into making sure they got what matters right. I think so. I'm gonna go a little higher and say 4.5 for me.
Ooh. Yeah, that's. I was kind of leaning that way too. Like I said, from a pure enjoyment standpoint, great movie. I would recommend it. Anyone who asks me, should I go see it? I would tell them yes, whether you're a weather nerd or not. And from the people that are worried about the scientific aspect of it, I would tell them, as we've been talking about here, are there liberties taken? Sure, but there's some pretty sound science in it, and I think that enhances the movie even more. And yeah, I think it's a great job. I was about to ask. I was like, can I do a 4.5?
You sure can.
Can I go in between? I was going to go 4.5 out of 5 stars as well. I think honestly, I could almost give it 5 out of 5, just because of the standpoint of it's a great movie, it's a great watch, it's rewatchable.
Yeah.
The acting is terrific. And the science, there's good science in it as well. I was like, well, I don't know, if I say 5 out of 5, people might think it's perfect. I'm like, well, what movie is ever perfect? But But yeah, I would give it 4.5 out of 5. Here's the reason I won't give it a 5 out of 5, and this is minor. But when I talked about how they did a lot of due diligence, talking to a lot of different weather folks as they prepare for this movie. We tried our best to be like, hey, could you maybe include us Tulsa guys this time? Because Oklahoma City meteorologists got included in the first one. And then they included Oklahoma City meteorologists again in the second one, and we all knew they would. Again, I'm not acting like this is any big deal. It's not. But there was we tried our best to be like, hey, maybe include us Tulsa guys this time, and oh well. But I'm not actually docking the movie for that. That's not a big deal. But I would say 4.5 stars for me. Great movie. I would definitely go see it again.
Awesome.
I'll dock it for you. I'll say that you're taking that half star away. If it's not for you, then it's for me. But I'll say it's because I learned that they switch meteorologists and they work at the same damn station in real life, and you're switching channels to the same time. No, you wouldn't. That's where they messed up.
We did all laugh about that. Yeah, when they switched channels from one TV meteorologist to the other, those were two meteorologists from the same station. Whatever, it's a movie. Who cares? But yeah, that would I honestly kind of laughed at that. So.
But it's valid. They could have done better. If somehow Twisters 3 ever comes to be, please include Tulsa this time, because we do the same stuff. We have the storms too, guys.
Thank you. Exactly.
And I promise our meteorologists are just as expert as the OKC area. Yes. At least I feel that way.
I think they're better.
You know what? They are better, and you and I can say that. Stephen can just...
Yep, we can. Stephen, you don't have to say a thing, but we can say it all we want.
Exactly, is right. Okay, well, I'm super excited that we came out with high reviews of this movie. I think that's going to do it for us today. We can go ahead and wrap up here. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching us here, go ahead and hit that button. Or in your favorite podcasting app, you can listen to the audio version there. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Facebook to stay in touch. Let us know what you thought of Twisters. And then again, head to SoManySequels.com. You can find all our past episodes and our social links there. So thanks again to Stephen Nehrenz for joining us today. Where
can they follow you on
tell them where to find you,
Mr. Stephen?
Oh, sure. I'm I have on Facebook. If you literally just search Meteorologist Stephen Nehrenz on Facebook, you'll find my page. On X, Twitter, whatever we call it, is at... I still have kept that going, even though that's a platform some people have left. I still have it just because it's like...
Sure.
Multiple
still a big news driver.
People need to know about weather on Twitter?
It's true. No, it's true.
X?
X. Like I still call it Twitter. At Stephen Nehrenz, literally first name, last name. I'm also on Threads, and I think that's... Well, I guess literally you could just search my name on Threads as well. I'm always like, what's my handle? I'm pretty sure it's the same. I think I'm looking it up right now. It's S Nehrenz. So S first letter, last name on Threads, which I'm trying to use that a lot more often as well because I like that platform.
Sweet, good deal. Go follow Stephen. You'll get all kinds of insight into weather goodness doing that. And then if you're in the Tulsa area, or if you want to do it online, you can always stream his newscasts at newson6.com.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's Monday to Fridays, morning, noon show on Channel 6, CBS affiliate here, and I love it.
Awesome, great. Well, we will see you all next time. Go out and enjoy Twisters.